Hello, and welcome to today's session, which will examine innovations to improve labor retention and operational performance with Lydia Voice and OpsWare. This session is going to provide insights on how voice solutions work to improve the speed and accuracy of order fulfillment processes, while also giving managers and associates a view into dynamic metrics that help keep your operations on track for success. My name is Roberto Michel. I'm Senior Editor for Modern Materials Handling magazine, and I'll be your host for this session, being brought to you by EPG, a provider of supply chain execution software including WMS, TMS, and warehouse control, as well as its Lydia Voice solution. Also on board for this session is a partner of EPG's, Mountain Leverage, a company that focuses on deploying voice-directed picking and workflow solutions. Through this session, you'll learn how voice solutions can speed up work and improve accuracy right at the point of task via efficient voice interactions and verification prompts. The bigger picture you'll gain from this session is understanding the dashboards and insights you can gain on operational issues like throughput with a voice solution. These systems are constantly generating data on what was picked, what was handled, and in what quantities by specific associates using the system. The voice isn't just another way to do picking or data capture. These solutions can also be seen as providing an online foundation for operational intelligence. We have three experts with us who can explain in detail how voice solutions have evolved, why the need is high given today's extreme labor challenges, and importantly, how a voice solution software provides users with dynamic metrics and visualization of trends. To explain these issues, we are joined by Gary Glessner, Business Development Lead for Mountain Leverage, along with Javier Esteve, Senior Account Executive with EPG, as well as Charlie Koch, Senior Project Engineer with Mountain Leverage. Before we do begin, a quick housekeeping note for the audience. We'll have time for a Q&A session after our conversation, so please make sure to submit your questions at any time using the feature for that on the session platform. We'll get to a few questions after our presentation, but if we don't get to your question, we'll move it over to our presenters and they will be able to follow up with you via email following this event. With that, welcome all of you, and please take it away, Gary.
Thank you, Roberto. It's great to be with you today. As business development lead at Mountain Leverage, I've been with the company just a short time since it acquired speech interface design last November, but I was with SID for 8 years and then with Vocalect for 10 years prior to that. So I've had the good fortune of delivering a lot of value through voice-directed picking and workflow solutions for 18 years, and am happy to frame today's discussion around worker retention and how we're seeing it becoming paramount and how voice is really rising to meet that challenge in very innovative ways. So, Javier.
Hi, I'm Javier Esteve with VPG. Good to be here with you today. I've worked with customers across a range of industries and sizes for over 30 years, helping them evaluate a variety of logistics solutions ranging from ERP to voice to WMS and kind of everything in between related to supply chain execution. So hope I can add some value here in terms of helping people understand the evolution of voice and where it fits in and how it addresses the specific challenges we're going to address today.
And hi, I'm Charlie Koch. I am a Senior Project Engineer for Mountain Leverage. I've been developing voice solutions for just over 7 years, and I've worked on several different platforms, many different types of voice solutions, and I'm also the lead developer of OpsWare Connect, which we will be discussing today.
Thanks very much, Javier and Charlie. Just taking a slide here to explain the difference and how our two companies work together as partners. Mountain Leverage is a total solution provider. We've been focused on doing voice-directed picking, workflow, and optimization solutions. really exclusively since our inception. And with the addition of speech interface design since last November, are really the major player in North America in this focus. Lots and lots of years of experience and expertise, and our company delivers turnkey solutions. So from a very consultative engagement process right through 24/7 by 365 support. We are there to support these mission critical solutions and rely on a EPG as our provider of technology and partner as such. Javier.
Yeah, thank you. EPG has been involved with logistics-focused solutions, let's call it, since 1987, since its inception, and has been involved with voice for well over 20 years as it's evolved as a technology, and we're very pleased and honored to work with a company like Mountain Leverage that adds expertise around our solution to help extend its value in the marketplace, and specifically to address requirements for our customer base, and hope to shed some light on that today.
Thank you, Javier. I think today's topic especially is going to show the value of how our two companies work together. To start out, again, just an overview to frame today's topic and the importance that we're increasingly seeing around worker retention, and some data that we're seeing that businesses are fundamentally needing to adapt to the labor that's available out there. It is so few and far between that solutions that can adapt and deliver what that labor needs in order to stay engaged and be retained are very, very key going forward. What we're seeing are some good trends for voice, and from the standpoint that today's workforce is more tech savvy than ever and just inherently is more comfortable using voice. So a good thing. What we are also seeing, however, is that those new workers in distribution centers are often speaking a greater and greater number of different languages. So it puts pressure on companies like EPG, but I'm glad to say that in recently working with one client, the CEO had spent some time in Afghanistan and asked if the language Dari was available, and after checking with EPG, I was glad to be able to confirm that it was under development and would soon be available. So again, those challenges will be met going forward. I think one of the things that we're also seeing out there that absolutely is going to become critical is that skilled managers will begin to retire in the coming years. So it's going to be more and more important for systems to be easy to learn, have people trained very quickly, and be able to utilize some of the concepts that we're increasingly seeing are growing more and more important around gamification, to not only engage the workforce, but give them the feedback that they're going to need to be motivated to achieve the objectives of pick rates and accuracy. And we're seeing, of course, many companies tying in a reward system that absolutely captivates the workforce around these gamification principles. And this is one of the very key areas of visibility and functionality that Charlie will talk about regarding OpsWare, where the value add of that middleware software is very, very significant. Lydia Voice is so much about the user experience. It really is a perfect fit for making sure that we're very attentive to being easy to interact with, familiar, something that can be learned very, very quickly, and most importantly to the gamification concept, accelerates worker development. That will increasingly become important as we go forward. For those of you who may not be very familiar with voice, it is a very, very simple interaction with the worker. They're hands-free and eyes-free because they're getting the data and responding via a headset or a vest, as is another option with Lydia Voice. But the key is they're not using a handheld device that incorporates a handle, a screen, and or a keypad, which they have to interact with, because every second of interaction with any of those three components is interacting with a data device and not performing productive work. So a system is typically just asking a worker to begin an assignment, directing them to a slot location, asking them to confirm a check digit once at that slot location, and then asking them to confirm that pick quantity once it's picked. And again, there are all kinds of things we can do as a total solution provider to make sure, for example, that your fast movers have dynamic check digits so they're not memorized. And again, we see an incredible improvement in productivity and accuracy and worker satisfaction by freeing up their hands and letting them perform productive work in this manner, as opposed to interacting with a data device. And we're seeing survey after survey, such as this one, confirm that fact, where you can just see the satisfaction of workers in warehouses using voice far, far exceeding those who are using paper and or RF devices to direct the work. And my final slide is, again, just a little bit forward-looking, but certainly me being a baby boomer, I'm not relevant to the workforce that's being hired today for distribution centers. It's more the millennials and the Generation Z folks that are over at the right of this chart, and you can certainly bet that as more and more Generation Z folks get hired, that 5% will grow to well over 35. And it's very, very clear that the use of voice technology will be central to workers in warehouses going forward. So to give you some more insight as to how a technology company like EPG is accelerating and rising to the challenge of using voice, given the great number of languages that are being spoken and the need for it to be easy to use and learn, I'm going to turn it over to Javier for the next several slides.
Great. Thank you, Gary. And I couldn't agree more. Labor concerns, and I think specifically from I think the new take on that is looking at labor concerns from the point of view of the user experience, and are consistently at the top of the list of challenges that I hear from the industry. And interestingly, from companies that have actually done the financial analysis, are shocked at the true financial impact of turnover. The numbers are really quite staggering. So I hope I can identify some insights to help our audience understand how Lydia Voice can meet those challenges by expanding the available labor pool, enhancing the user experience to improve retention, and most importantly, of course, increasing accuracy and productivity with numbers of 15 to 30% on average based on our customer experience. One of the key considerations distribution centers face is implementing the right level of automation when they're looking to balance demand and capacity, but also to do so in a low-risk profile in a way that's ROI justifiable. So that's where advancements in computing power and device technologies have really made an impact for those who work on the edge of the network with devices that really represent the last point of connection to that business application ecosystem. So improvements in mobile device technology and modern AI-enabled solutions in the hands of those edge workers have really helped meet the demand for that increased capacity without heavy and potentially risky investments in automation. Now, voice solutions really have evolved since the technology was first introduced in commercial usage as it is today. Initially, voice or user voice dependent and reliance on voice template training was the first iteration of this. The solutions were labor intensive, invasive, and very proprietary in nature. This technology, still used by many, struggles to address an increased need to serve a diverse and transient workforce, as Gary mentioned. And along with that, a greater demand from the business for using multifunction devices on autonomous platforms. While the second generation speaker independent recognition was introduced, or at least this, I should say, approximated speaker independence based on Gaussian mixed models, were typically dependent on proprietary hardware and still inefficient in the quality of voice signal recognition. So this generation of voice applications still had a high degree of reliance really on the user adapting to the solution rather than the solution adapting to the user. Then, with deep learning neural networks, AI-based technology was introduced to further enhance speech recognition and make it truly speaker independent, allowing for native voice recognition, eliminating voice template requirements, etc. This development greatly improved the quality of voice recognition and enabled hardware autonomy, most notably for the Android platform devices that were really coming to be in demand as Windows CE was being sunsetted. And modern voice technology now expands the application of AI technology to further improve voice recognition and also leverages computing power better to augment performance by addressing issues like ambient noise filtering, automated gain control, etc. These enhancements create opportunities for further integration to automation and business platforms for additional process automation. This neural networks technology is the same used to deliver consumer voice recognition applications we all recognize, right? You see there on your screen. If you're wondering, that green vest you see is another innovation using this technology. That's Lydia Voice Wear. It's the only wearable headset-free voice solution that really provides workers the ultimate ergonomic experience and will soon include Bluetooth connectivity for even greater flexibility. So, what's the business impact and value of these innovations? Companies converting from other leading voice technologies to Lydia typically report an 8 to 12% increase in productivity. Another impact customers have shared is the ability to expand their available labor pool to a workforce they couldn't support with their previous voice solutions. I think Gary mentioned the proliferation of varied languages in the workforce, and it's just increasing as we see populations shift. And interestingly, Spanish, which represents the largest non-native labor pool, is surprisingly one of the most challenging languages for recognition, mostly because of the varied and nuanced dialects represented by the many diverse Spanish-speaking populations we see entering that workforce. So, to further illustrate that, consider the results of this study from a language localization firm. It demonstrates that voice recognition accuracy for the leading consumer applications has almost 35% more difficulty accurately recognizing Spanish accents over Chinese. If you've ever tried doing this in Chinese, you know that's saying quite a bit. So the impact to customers making the change to Lydia technology has been really, it's about happier and more productive workers, and thus increasing the value of voice to the business in a significant manner. Of course, there are other requirements based or beyond, I'll say, voice recognition to consider. Most common concern we hear is how integration is accomplished and how much complexity is involved to integrate to ERP or WMS environments. The best way to answer that is to simply say we have a plethora of options for connecting either directly or indirectly to virtually any ERP or WMS environment, with options offering a level of vendor independence that's really right for the business, depending on what their requirements are, what their internal capabilities are. So another concern around integration is adaptability, specifically to existing workflows and the flexibility to make localized changes as needs dictate. Dialog Designer is a Lydia unique tool that facilitates and accelerates that process by providing a light middleware application that's an alternative to the cost and complexity involved when changes to the WMS or ERP environment are otherwise required. Now, this approach also makes use of mobile computing power to provide a layer of resiliency and really business continuity. And that means independence from network and application connectivity that can sometimes be a challenge in certain environments. The OpsWare Connect solution by Mountain Leverage is a perfect example of how this architectural design can be used to further extend that voice solution and provide additional functionality, efficiency, and of course, value. With that, I'm going to transition to Charlie.
Thanks, Javier. So as Javier had mentioned, OpsWare Connect is one way that Lydia can connect to your host system. OpsWare provides a plethora of options that allow you to have a flexible environment to run your voice solution. And so how do we connect the dots with OpsWare Connect? Well, labor performance data is often buried deep in WMS or an ERP. It's sometimes difficult to identify trends and find meaningful data points to help you take action with your work. So OpsWare Connect allows you to connect the dots between your warehouse workers, your voice software, and your host system, and also uncovers some valuable insights to your operation. OpsWare Connect has dashboards that provide flexible views, which allow you to filter and sort the data so that you can see exactly what you need to see when you need to see it. This data updates in real time and provides many different important metrics on different screens. The dashboard, which you can see here, can provide information about goal rates that you're trying to hit, whether you're actually meeting those goals. It can tell you how long it will take to complete work, so you can see if you need to allocate workers to different areas of the warehouse to complete the work on time. It'll show you when there's exceptions and shorts, things that need to be dealt with right away. And it also gives you insight into the pick rates and activities of individual workers, so you can actually see who's doing the best, who may be falling behind and might need some help. You can identify all of those things very quickly and easily from these dashboards. And these dashboards give you all kinds of ways that you can filter and sort this data so that you will be able to get the information that you need very quickly. Now, these dashboards and screens update in real time, but that real-time capability also extends to the host system. OpsWare has several different ways that it can connect to a host system, and it does this exchange of data in real time so you can keep everything up to sync. One of the major things that is preferable with OpsWare is that it can be delivered as a virtual machine. This allows OpsWare to be fully configured before it is even delivered to you. There's no hours-long installation or setup required. You can just drop OpsWare into your existing infrastructure, and within a few minutes, it's ready to go. OpsWare provides not just dashboards and data, but it also has tools to help you manage and control your voice workflow. You can track the progress of individual orders, and you can go down even to details on individual line items. We can see here in this screenshot that we have a jobs table, and if we click on William here, William Davis, we can see all of the picks that he's working on. We can see which picks he's already completed. We can see how much he's picked. We can see the locations and items. It gives much other information which we can't see here, such as the travel time, the pick time, if there's any missing or damaged product, and lots of other information. And this is all updated in real time. Along with just viewing data, there's also the ability to control the way that your work is handled. And that's where you can edit the jobs. You can assign different priorities. You can make certain jobs available or unavailable based on when you need to complete the work. You can also assign to specific associates. If you have specific workers that you know need to complete specific jobs, you can do all of that right within this screen here and keep total control and have total management of all of the work that is currently happening. OpsWare provides both live and analytical views to be able to look at many different types of data. The dashboard tables, like the associates table that you can see here, provides a real-time view of all of the associates in the warehouse. So you can get instant feedback on where your employees are, what they're doing, and how quickly they're accomplishing their tasks. You can see here that it even gives on-screen alerts, and you can also set up text and email alerts to get specific events, such as an associate is maybe taking too long to start their next assignment. Somebody could be stuck at a location for an extended period of time. If a short occurs, these are all things that are going to show up on the screen and can also be configured as an external alert as well. There's also several analytical views, such as the labor and break summaries. You can see here on this slide, there's the associate's break summary. These will give a very detailed and comprehensive look at the speed and efficiency of your workforce. You can see data such as your total labor time, which can be further broken down into travel time, pick time, idle time, break times. You'll be able to see things like pick rates and the comparison of a pick rate to the goal rate. So you can specify specific goals that you want your associates to be able to meet and then see if they are meeting those goals. You can see things like the number of breaks per associate. You can see exactly what types of breaks they're taking and how long those breaks are. You can also filter any of these views and organize them. So as I mentioned before, everything is fully customizable as far as what you can see. So you can filter it by specific shifts or times of day, certain areas of the warehouse. You can even have a detailed breakdown for a single associate. So if you want to know, day by day, how is this associate doing, you can have a view that just gives you exactly that. In addition, there's also the ability to sort. So if you wanted to have some kind of ranking of your associates based on some type of data, maybe there's a certain pick rate or some kind of other metric that you want to be able to rank your associates and have maybe even like some kind of scoreboard, you can do all of that through these analytical views. And because you can do all of this stuff in the views, you can also do all of these things on sheets of paper. You can have it printed out. You can also export that data or download that data so that you could do further analysis in different types of software, such as Microsoft Excel or many other types of analytical software that can utilize comma-separated values, which is how all of this data is exported from OpsWare. And along with the labor tracking, there's lots of other analysis that can be done within OpsWare as well. One example here is the frequently visited slots. So what this allows us to do is you can see high traffic areas and possibly identify congestion in the warehouse. Along with that, you can have, as I mentioned before, the different types of alerts. We can see here that there is an alert that was sent for a short location. So you can have your supervisors be immediately informed when things like this happen to be able to quickly respond to those things as they happen. OpsWare also provides options for handling different exceptions and things that occur during a normal workday. You're going to have things like missing items. You're going to need to possibly mark out those items if you don't have any available, or you can create chase jobs where you can go fill those orders after they've already been picked to go get the remaining items that we're missing. And with that, I believe I'm going to hand it over to Gary here to discuss how OpsWare and Lydia Voice go together.
Thanks, Charlie. Just wanted to make sure we shouted out the call to action to the group in terms of, you know, given all this good stuff, how do you engage and get started with us? And really, we really just hope to have an introductory phone call with you, because our goal is really to be a consultative extension of your team. We're on your side of the desk, in essence. We want to know, just like you do, what value voice can deliver to your business. Now, certainly when it comes to increasing productivity, accuracy, reducing training time, those can be quantified down to the sub-second level, and a business case can be built. But, you know, as so much of what Charlie talked about, knowing your why and the value of voice beyond those basics, I think, you know, when everybody thinks of voice, they think of that worker, justifiably so, at the pick face, being hands-free, eyes-free, hearing what to pick, confirming the pick quantity. What they're not thinking about is all of what Charlie talked about that's now available to the supervisor, to the management team, and to the workers themselves as that information gets pushed out, so that gamification and motivation and reward is all possible from the voice system. So we're going to help you as a total solution provider understand that value analysis and the value that voice will play in your specific operation. Certainly, as a partner, one of the things we recognize with EPG and value is the fact that they have a Prove It pilot program that makes it very, very easy for prospects to not only embrace the value of voice, but also understand how the technology will work in their environment with their people. So we want you to be able to make a well-informed decision with confidence regarding this investment, as so many others have and have benefited going forward. So we look forward to that engagement. We're going to go to Q&A right now, and I'm going to turn it over to Roberto, but we do have a backdrop to the Q&A screen, just so that you'd all be aware that you can download the Lydia Voice demo app from Google Play or the App Store, and we certainly would encourage you to do that again to just see how easy and functional it is. So with that, Roberto, turning it over to you for Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Thank you, gentlemen, for all your information about how this solution works. We do have some questions that have filtered in here. I'll direct the first one to Charlie. I know you've talked quite a bit about the labor metrics you can generate with OpsWare, but somebody is asking, can OpsWare provide labor reporting for me? I guess, you know, can you provide a little bit more detail, Charlie, on what's some of the labor reporting that can be done, and can it be pushed out to associates so they can kind of see where they are in terms of how they're doing for the day?
Yeah, OpsWare has sort of, you know, as I said, there's a lot of different ways to view the labor data. We do have, as I mentioned before, there are breakdowns of the data based on different shifts. So you can have, you know, views for shift labor. You can have views for a specific, you know, maybe a week's worth of labor data. And you can do that for all of your associates or a specific shift, or even, you know, a single associate. You want to see what have they done for the week. And all of that stuff can be printed. So you can create paper reports. You can also, you know, download that data and put it into some other software. OpsWare also has the ability to schedule email reports. So if you wanted to customize some kind of analysis and then have it sent out as an email at a specific time every day, you can do that as well.
Okay, that's interesting. And can it work across multiple sites, the OpsWare?
Yes. So a single organization, you can have multiple sites. So if you had several different warehouses, you could have each one running within the same OpsWare instance, but they would each have their own separate site within that instance where all of their data would be handled.
Okay. Kind of as a follow-up, we have another question, Charlie, that came in. Does this require a WMS, an ERP, some type of host system to work?
It doesn't require a WMS specifically. OpsWare is fully self-sufficient in the sense that if you can provide data for work, as long as you can provide data for items, locations, and jobs, OpsWare will do the rest and be able to take those jobs and then send them out to voice devices and have people complete that work and then send it back to OpsWare. And then OpsWare can output that data either directly to a system, or it can just export it to files, which can be handled in whatever manner that you would see fit. But OpsWare itself is fairly self-sufficient. As long as you can get data in, it will give you data back out and handle all of the work organization for you.
But usually it's connected to a WMS or an ERP of some sort.
Yeah, and OpsWare can connect to any type of system. So whether it's WMS, ERP, it could be a homegrown system. OpsWare has a lot of different options as far as interfacing. So just about any type of connection that any type of data that you'd want to send to OpsWare, more than likely it would be able to handle it.
Okay, great. Javier, I'm going to direct this question to you. Somebody has asked, what type of devices can I run Lydia Voice on?
Sure. So I don't want to say Lydia Voice is completely agnostic, because after all, we're talking about commercial use in industrial environments, and there are differences in OS, and Android OS. Some are industrial, some are consumer grade, and those have implications. And again, we're trying to protect the user experience, so it's important you get a device that is going to perform adequately in that environment. So we have a number of different platforms that have been certified, and we can always look at certifying a particular device platform if somebody's interested, but generally think of anything from Zebra. Of course, we have our own proprietary hardware as well, but we've got an extensive list and a wide range of devices it runs on. But again, as we're looking at that screen, I recommend people go to the Google Play Store or Apple Store and download the demo application on your device of choice and really experience for themselves that workflow and the quality of that voice recognition. Also, the opportunity to test different devices is another reason to accept that offer of that low-cost, low-fixed-cost pilot program that we call Prove It. And I can tell you from customer experience, 100% of customers that have gone through that process, or prospects that have gone through that process of doing a Prove It pilot, have converted to become customers. So I think that really speaks to the success of that approach.
Thanks, Javier. Gary, I'm going to ask one more question of you. How long, realistically, does it take to train workers on voice so they can go out there and be doing tasks in the warehouse with voice?
Well, Roberto, years ago in this industry, it was very common to hear customers say training has been dramatically reduced from weeks to days. But I've got to tell you, more recently, it's been more like days to hours. And, key to that is the fact that the speaker independent recognition that Lydia Voice offers completely eliminates one of the more time-consuming elements of training, which is the old template training for each individual worker. With that eliminated, I mean, the worker literally can put on the headset and or the vest, and away they go. The system is so intuitive in terms of how it directs workers and doesn't allow them to make responses that don't make sense. It truly is hours that you will see your workers who have even never used voice before up and running and using it like they've been using it for weeks or months. So it is one of the big game changers that customers tell us about all the time.
Thanks, Gary. That's very informative. I want to thank you all for your insights on what's possible with voice today. So thank you, Gary, Javier, and Charlie, for your presentations and all the details you presented on voice solutions and the metrics you can use with voice to improve productivity and employee engagement. This concludes our session and our presentation. Thanks for watching and listening.